words rare and Dr. Phillip Sponenberg go hand in hand, both in describing him as a person and his academic focus on conservation. Sponenberg, a professor in Virginia Tech's Virginia-Maryland College of Veterinary Medicine Department of Pathobiology, earned his bachelor's and doctor of veterinary medicine degrees at Texas A&M before completing his doctor of philosophy in veterinary medicine from Cornell University. Even as an undergraduate, he stood out among his peers, according to one nominator. During our conversations, it became readily apparent that Phil was very bright and had already thoughtfully envisioned his veterinary career focused on reproductive pathology and conservation genetics of domestic animals. In particular, he was intrigued by the genetics of equine hair coat color. Subsequently, Dr. Sponenberg fulfilled that vision with a long and exceptionally distinguished professional career in research, teaching, and service. That distinguished career at VMCVM, which began in 1981, has been marked by his being the youngest faculty member to have been promoted to the rank of full professor and by his serious commitment to service across all dimensions of academic activity. Another nominator reflected, Phil's academic career has been a relatively even mix of research, service, and teaching. This is a mix that is becoming increasingly rare as faculty are currently hired to emphasize mostly one of these missions. He has received recognition for excellence in all three. While his teaching efforts include decades of instruction in pathology, reproduction, necropsy, and veterinary genetics, making positive impacts on hundreds of veterinary students, his service to his students and field span performing advisory roles for student groups, as well as a host of university and association advisory and service committees. As superb as Phil's teaching and service are, his work in international and national conservation genetics and livestock breeds conservation eclipse those career accomplishments. Within his academic interests, which include reproductive pathology, conservation principles, conservation genetics, and coat color, he has produced 431 publications for the lay public, 109 scientific journal articles, 13 major books, 31 book chapters, and 174 invited presentations for breed associations. Phil's contributions to the conservation of livestock genetic resources have filled a void in the United States, where he is a leader in this effort to assure a secure and viable future for food production. He is unique among academicians in North America with this interest and with his long contributions to the area. For these efforts, Sponenberg has been recognized extensively at VMCVM, including the Teaching Hospital Lifetime Service Award and Excellence in Outreach Award. As the Virginia Veterinary Medical Association's 2017 Distinguished Virginia Veterinarian, and as an honorary member of the American College of Theriogenology, among many others. Clearly, Professor Sponenberg has left his indelible mark on the future worldwide conservation of domestic animal species.
I was quite surprised when Dean Green phone called me and told me I had been awarded the Outstanding Alumnus Award, and I'd like to thank her for that, and especially I'd like to thank Gary Adams for nominating me for this award. It means a great deal to me, and also to the selection committee and those who supported the nomination, including Margie Lee and Gerhard Schurig from our own veterinary college here in Virginia. In my own case, my success is very much a corporate endeavor and really is the result of a lot of people making a lot of inputs over a long time. Mostly it was people believing in me. My family, my parents. My parents allowed me to have a guinea pig operation when I was a youngster, and that included work in genetics and work in breeding plans, and really first seeded the interest in this and the ability to actually accomplish things to a conclusion. We kept very, very careful records over probably 5 or 6 years, and at the end of that we had actually made $1 over all that time. But more than just the economics of it, it was the seating of that interest in genetics and interest in biology that really, really helped. My siblings, my brother, my sister have always been helpful and always supportive. My wife has also been supportive. Torsten, she puts up with goats, puts up with dogs, puts up with chickens, puts up with me, and I greatly appreciate that. Once I got to Texas A&M, I had a roommate, Jeff Burris, and eventually we developed a herd of Texas Longhorns, and it was actually a herd of conservation line Texas Longhorns. These were Yates line Texas Longhorns. And that's where it really started to gel, that we could have a conservation breeding program that met practical goals but also theoretical goals. And it was really interesting to try to combine those two things in effective ways that worked for ends that satisfied the agricultural income goals but also just the theoretical conservation goals. That really, really helped. Throughout my time at Texas A&M, I was very fortunate to have extremely talented and dedicated mentors. Gary Adams and Joe Templeton stand out because they were the ones that really encouraged me in genetics. Larry Claiborne was just a general advocate and enthusiastic supporter. Bonnie Beaver helped me with horse color genetics, and we actually published a book out of that work. And Brock Faulkner, not a faculty member, was a local rancher that helped this city kid learn how to work cows and sort of became fascinated with agricultural systems. Also, I'd like to thank the state of Texas because at that time, a whole semester at Texas A&M cost only $645.50, and this was for tuition, room, board, fees, laundry, the whole thing. And it was possible at that point to go to Texas A&M, work part-time, and graduate debt-free. That is an incredible gift that society gives to young people and that really provides payback over decades and over years to that very same society. I realize that veterinary education is increasingly expensive, but I would characterize it as a really expensive bargain for society. And I always like to tell people that if you think educating veterinarians and having veterinarians is expensive, then you should really try to see what happens when you don't have them. That is much, much more expensive. The problem is categorizing all those expenses down to where they really hit is very, very difficult. And so that all the ways that veterinary medicine impacts society are often forgotten. And so we really lose the fact that, in fact, no matter how expensive it is to train veterinarians, it is in fact a bargain for society. This profession is sometimes characterized as the Swiss Army knife of the medical professions, and this is wonderful because there's many, many tools, many of which only have certain specific uses. I consider what I do to be a minor tool in that toolbox, but perhaps one that's essential for the overall success of the profession. Very diverse roles, each of them essential for societal advancement and for basically the advancement of food safety especially, but also agricultural production and even society as it interacts with the mental health aspects of companion animals. And so my own work has mostly been in conservation of livestock resources, teaching as well as pathology, and I find the opportunity to make positive contributions one of the most satisfying aspects, especially of an academic career. I find that if you can make a small positive contribution for a great number of people, that's really, really satisfying. But you also have the opportunity to make a large contribution for a very, very small number, and I find that extremely satisfying. Throughout my entire career, there's been a whole list of collaborators and colleagues that have been essential. At Cornell, where I did my PhD work, Ken McEntee, Dale Van Vleck, and Bob Foote all had incredibly generous inputs into my career. And then at Virginia Tech, especially since I arrived early in the development of a veterinary college, I was given the freedom to develop a combination of pathology, genetics, conservation of livestock resources that really would be very, very difficult to repeat today. There at Tech, we had incredible leadership from a variety of people, Bill Pearson, Margie Lee, Gerhard Schurig, and then also the pathology group there at Virginia Tech. And this is quite the wonderful group because they think that individual success is built on cooperation and on group success. And so we all celebrate individual success, but that group success is also important. Jeff Saunders, Tanya Leroy, Kevin Lammers, Tom Ceciri, Cheryl Kudermarsh-Ott all participate in this most generously and most wonderfully to give you an output that actually way outpaces the input of each individual member. I've been very fortunate to be able to work a lot with Latin American and Iberian colleagues in conservation, including Juan Vicente Delgado Bermejo and Maria Esperanza Camacho, who lead up the Iberian group. And in Mexico with Guadalupe Rodriguez Calaban. She works with backyard food production, and this has become actual scientific discipline down there, and it turns out that backyard food production accounts for 75% of food production in that region. Jorge Quiroz, Elizabeth Casanova, and Jorgito Quiroz are also valuable colleagues from Tabasco. Jorgito is 13 years old, wise beyond his years, and we actually use him for his wisdom. Germán Martínez Correal works with Criollo cattle and really established conservation of this genetic resource worldwide there in Colombia. Fernando Mujica and Eddie Bustamante and Jose Luis Pinochet in Chile work with a variety of species in a variety of settings in most interesting projects. Jose Luis Canalón has been instrumental in horse conservation in Venezuela, interested in the genetics as well as in the color. which I've been able to contribute to. Raul Perez Garza works with Mexican resources, especially this connection of livestock people and livestock producing systems, which can all interact in very, very interesting ways to provide for viability of systems, viability of the environment, and also viability of human cultures. Here in the United States, the Livestock Conservancy does most of this work. Don Bixby, Allison Martin, Jeanette Behringer, Charlene Couch, Margie Bender, and Carolyn Chrisman have worked with this for years. Margie Bender has been especially useful to me because she asks wonderful questions, demands answers that are coherent both at a scientific level and also at the level of the lay public. And this has really honed my own thinking and been able to basically springboard all this work into a practical sort of lay situation with individual breeders. Overall, I find the veterinary profession to be one of limitless opportunities and a balanced and a holistic set of approaches that can make important contributions to basically any societal problem. So an essential piece of maintaining society and maintaining viability of societal systems.
Our college is proud to honor Dr. Phillip Sponenberg with the Outstanding Alumni Award.